I may have bought the cheapest E55 AMG in the country. This thing pulls like a freight train. I picked up this car for $4,000 and of course it was broken. So in this video, we're gonna see if we can get this thing going and fix all the problems it has. So here's the first thing we need to tackle on the E55. I don't know how well that picks up on camera, but it sounds like the rear bearings in this supercharger are cooked. So I'm gonna pull it apart and see if I can get some numbers off those bearings and hopefully get some. I've only found the bearings online at one place and they were not cheap. Better just to buy another used supercharger, but I'm gonna take it apart and see how bad they are and see what I can find. All right, so I may have gotten ahead of myself a little bit and forgot to film me actually pulling the supercharger off of the motor, but I got it off. A little bit of the bird's nest in there. I'm about to vacuum all that out. I dropped a little bit of junk down in the intake ports, but I'll get all that vacuum out. And I soaked myself with coolant. I got the supercharger off and I pulled the intercooler off of the bottom of it. And I was looking, the rotors look brand new. There is like no scarring, no wear or anything. They look super good, but it's still got that noise. I got the back part off for the bearings here. This left bearing, it feels tight. I don't know if you can hear that, but that one feels like it's got a little bit of play in it. Which really, now that I've got it apart, it might have been okay for a while, but I don't want to risk one of these bearings coming apart and then causing some problems. Going through the intercooler or something, I don't know. Just, it would have been a mess. But now that I have it off, it kind of sounds like it might be the front bearings here. The sound travels so much through the case that it's really hard to tell. But I know there is a little bit of play in this bearing. This one feels tight, but if I can get these bearings somewhere, I'll probably go ahead and replace them. All right, I just got the supercharger apart. The rotors, man, they look good. The gears, no lash in the gears, everything feels super good. The case, I mean, the case looks amazing. So I'm really hoping that I can find those bearings, because I would hate to have to put another supercharger on this thing just because I can't find these two bearings when this thing's in such good shape. But this is where I'm at now. I'm gonna see if I can get some numbers off of those bearings and hopefully come up with something, because I am ready to drive this thing. And this was definitely the problem. That bearing has seen better days. But I think they have been replaced before, because the bearing says made in Japan on it. I don't see Mercedes not using their own parts, but I could be wrong. I really hope I can find them. All right, so I'm taking a break from the supercharger because I ordered some bearings. I thought they were gonna work. They're not gonna work. So I found a company actually not far from me that I think maybe last year just started custom machining the bearings for these superchargers. So they're supposed to show up today, and then I can continue with this part of the project and get the supercharger back together. But my coilovers just showed up in the mail. So taking a little break from that, and I'm gonna get started on the coilovers on this. I already got it jacked up and popped that wheel off, and hopefully it's not too much of a pain to get this old air suspension out. But these coilovers were way cheaper than most of the options. They're not adjustable. They're just pretty much just converts it to regular suspension and supposedly factory ride height. I'm not going to be surprised if they ride like crap, but at least it'll get me going down the road for now, and I can always upgrade them in the future. So this is where I'm at with the E55. I took the supercharger off, found those bad bearings, pulled it apart, and then
Thought I found the right bearings on Amazon for like 10 bucks. Those came in. All the tolerance is correct, but the bearing design doesn't take a regular ball bearing. Got the supercharger back together, making some progress on this thing. Several times during the process, I thought I was gonna have to buy another supercharger, so I got a little careless. Maybe a couple scratches and nicks in the rotors that may or may not have been there before, but it's back together. I think it's still gonna make boost just fine. So it is way better. I don't have oil in it yet, but it still makes a little bit of noise. I'm not sure if that's normal, but before I did this, it sounded like there was literally rocks in there. So I call that a win. The bearings cost like 80 bucks. So we're pretty close to getting this back on the car, getting it back in running condition, and I'll be back fired up again. I got the front coilovers done. I say coilovers, they're really basically just stock, like non-air ride springs that would, I assume, come in like I think maybe the E320s or something. And I got the front done. They were a breeze. Got to the rear and not so much a breeze, at least by myself. So here I'm in the rear. I got the bags out and it comes with this little puck. Usually I think with like the BC Racing coilover kits, you have to like change the control arm on the bottom so that it has an actual coil bucket in it. But these came with these little adapter pucks that hopefully will do the same thing. For me to get those arms, I'm gonna have to try to loosen all those bushings, hopefully get enough room to get it in there, because it's a little tight for like a spring compressor to fit in there. Hopefully if I can get some help over here and loosen this stuff up enough, I can make it happen, but it's not gonna happen by myself from the looks of it. That's the update. That's where I'm at. I am ready to get this thing on the road. All right, I got the supercharger back on the motor. Got the intakes and everything back on it. It is fully complete. I had a bad bearing down there, the idler pulley that runs the supercharger, and I replaced it. Got a new belt on here that was missing the supercharger bolt. I got a VRP titanium bolt that was way overpriced for that, but it should be all buttoned up, ready to go. Apparently you cannot buy this clip for the overflow reservoir. It comes like integrated into the tank, and I don't want to buy another tank, so I got the bottle cap clip going in there. We'll see if it holds or not. I got the passenger side rear suspension kind of done, so it's just got a regular shock and coil spring. Can't really see it in there, but it's finished. It was an absolute pain to do. It took me most of the day today, but it's finished for the most part. I haven't done the other side, but I have recruited my buddy to help me knock that out today, so hopefully it is way less painful. We're getting really close to driving this thing. All right, this is gonna be the first start since I rebuilt the supercharger.
It's smoking like crazy back here.
So as you can see in the last clip, the E55 would not fire up. It would barely start and it would run like crap. Couldn't really figure out what was going on. Ended up the plug for the bypass valve on the supercharger and the plug for the throttle body are the same exact plug, and I had them mixed up. So I swapped those around, it fired up and it ran great. It sounded good. That only lasted like maybe an hour. And then it got to the point where if you gave it any more than just barely breathing on the throttle, it would just cut all the power off and the car would just like die out and it would barely move. Also, at the same time, it blew like 2 fuel pump fuses. So what I'm gonna do now is dive into the fuel pump and see if there's any problems with the fuel pump wiring, or I know these have some common problems with the plug getting hot and melting some stuff. So we're gonna dive into the back of the car, pull the fuel pump out and see what it looks like. Right away, those wires don't look the best. I have to get this harness. Yeah, that's gotten a little bit hot, and it looks like the bottom of that plug is melted out. That's awesome. So I think this harness runs back through here somewhere and unplugs, I'm hoping. I'll get an adapter harness on the way and just swap these fuel pumps, because these are actually pretty cheap, or at least I found cheap ones. I don't know if they're going to be junk or not, but we'll try them out. I've got the new harness here. Looks super nice. Just because of this harness, I guess. I thought that this traced back and unplugged, but it goes into a bigger harness, and I don't think that's the case. I don't think it unplugs, so I'm just gonna cut these back and just solder in the new connector, and then hopefully we'll be in a lot better shape. I got 2 wires done, but I gotta take a break because my dad just swung by and brought me a Mountain Dew and some Sheets tacos, so I'm about to tear these things up. Got the new harness wired up, super nice. Got all the splices tucked under here so you can't see them. So now we're gonna pull this fuel pump out and see what's going on in there. Pulling the little hat off here, and oh, that is not supposed to be like that. I'll be honest. I don't know how stuff like this doesn't just blow up, because all these wires are bare. They're all just touching each other. So that's got to be the problem. Hopefully we'll stop blowing fuel pump fuses and this thing will start running right again after I get this swapped out. Just got the new fuel pump in. This is the hat off the old one. I just cut the wires because those plugs are literally melted into the hat. This is what the rest of the old one looked like. All these bare wires, everything was just crumbling in my hands. Just not good, so. Here goes the first fire with the new fuel pumps. Let's see if she starts up. As you saw, the car wouldn't start. So I took the fuel pump back apart. I could hear it priming when I turned the key on, but it didn't sound like it was building any pressure. I thought maybe I missed hooking up a line or something, but I took it back apart. Found that one of these lines was cracked. Here it is. This line was broken, so it wasn't building pressure, it was just dumping it all back into the tank. That was a huge bummer. I couldn't find any submersible fuel line anywhere, but I found this little fuel line repair kit at like AutoZone. It's just like hard plastic in-tank line, and I got that spliced in there. It's kind of temporary, maybe permanent. I don't know, but I don't want to have to order this whole unit just because the line was cracked on the end, but we'll see how long it lasts. Let's see if this thing will fire up and see if we can take it on a test drive. Much better. I don't know what the battery light's about, or the brake light, or the coolant light, or the visit workshop light, or the washer fluid check level light. Well, that's all of them. Let's hit the road here and see what she feels like. It's got a little bit of a stumble. Sounds sick though. Already, I have a OM606 diesel Mercedes, and breathing on the throttle on this thing feels like wide open in that car. So far, it drives pretty good. So I put a couple miles on this thing. It feels pretty solid for the most part. It needs an alignment pretty bad, but it still drives straight enough that it's not dangerous, but it just pulls to the right a little bit. But it's got this weird, like, surge when it shifts, almost like it cuts some power out, like right after the shift, and then it's fine. But I have to sort that out. But it feels fine other than that. So the car has reliably taken me all the way to Mexico, conveniently. So we're gonna see what it's got here in a minute. I've waited long enough. Let's see what this thing's got. This thing pulls like a freight train. I've discovered anything under like 20 mile an hour, it just blows the tires off. Oh my God. I couldn't be more happy with this thing. It freaking rips. It's a blast, and I bet it's gonna do killer burnouts. So we'll have to try to set something up. As you can see, we got the E55 running and driving. It does killer burnouts and it pulls hard. So the car still needs a lot of aesthetic work, The headlight needs to be buffed out. The whole car needs to be buffed out. Needs a windshield. But we got it on the road and it drives pretty good. That's going to be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and stick around if you want to see some more content on the E55.